of rock and roll.
Well, hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. I am your host, the amazing Super Chris Mallard. Thank you for joining me today. It is Thursday, the day of Thor. Ooh, let me turn that off. That's unfortunate. Turn that off. Yeah, are you ready for the weekend? I am ready for the weekend. Tomorrow's Friday, one of my favorite days of the week. I don't know what you have going on tomorrow. I've got lots of stuff going on. Nerding, learning, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be fun. Anyway, we're going to have a good time today. I hope Miss Brian is just now sliding in because she's awesome, just like right on the money. You know, it's awkward before the show. If they show up before the show and you have to sit there and not talk because you don't want to run the good shit before the show. Not Ryan. She's perfect. Perfect. Sometimes I'll even say they get in the back and I'm like, man, let's not talk because let's save this for the show. And they're like, all right. And then they keep talking. My day went like this. And I'm like, dude, we could be doing this on the show. Anyway, guys, we'll be back in just a minute. We're going to kick off this Thursday. Were you circumcised at birth? Or did you change your faith for a woman and now she's gone? Or did your sister's lockjaw flare up at the worst possible time?
Guilty as charged.
Well, fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits. It won't cost you an arm and a leg, just an eyelid. Testimonials are already coming in. Mike from Dallas, Texas writes, ever since I got my penis caught in the blender, I haven't felt like a real man, but now I'm back and intact. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Steve from Florida says, I didn't really want my foreskin back, but my wife insisted. We did it and, well, you should see the look on her face. King Kelly writes, wow, getting my foreskin back literally doubled my length. After all these years, I can finally hold my heads high. Thank you, Father Flanagan. Father Flanagan's at-home foreskin restoration kits are part of our Tips for Tots and Adults community outreach program. Free eye patch and eye mister with each purchase. You can tell just by the look on his face whether he's packing or he's lacking. Microsurgery available for those extra small jobs. And in case you have any problems, Father Flanagan's highly trained medical staff are ready and waiting for your call.
Oh my God.
I've never seen so much blood.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Thank you, Father Flanagan.
Father Flanagan's line of at-home foreskin restoration kits. Coming to a Walmart near you. Oh, we are back. Good morning, everyone. Let me bring up Miss Ryan, the lovely and fantastical Miss Ryan. And I got a new system. Keeps trouble out of the way. If trouble sneaks up here. Oh, there she is. Once again, looking fantastical. The wild
Good morning.
Woman. Yes. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you? Thank you very much.
Yeah. So far, so good. We'll know more later.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. John Hudson says his dogs decided that they wanted to fuck with a porcupine last night, and he's been pulling quills out of their face all day long. It sucks, man.
Sounds like something a dog might do.
It does. And I love dogs. I hate it for them that they have to go through that.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You know how I am. Kelly Shear, good morning, Kelly. How are you doing? I hope you've been doing great. You've been hiding. I haven't seen you in a day or three, but usually when you're hiding, it's because you're doing things. Let me go here. Yes. Hi, Kelly. Randall Flagg is here. Beard of Empathy is here. Kiwi Banana is here. Daniel Anjos. Daniel Anjos. I hope I said that right. Good morning, Daniel Anjos. Could be Anjos. All you wonderful people, Ace Trades, and of course, John Hudson. Flocky is here. Good morning, Flocky and everybody. Thank you all for joining us. So, Ryan, do you have big old plans for this weekend?
Not that I know of. No, I do not believe so. Pretty chill around here for the most part, usually. The biggest part of my day is like walking pickles.
Yeah, you say that, but you drop a lot of content. You drop a lot of content. I mean, you don't just take. I'm lazy. I make content from what we do here because I'm lazy. You make real content all the time. Smart people stuff that educates.
I try to.
Yeah, I know. I watch it. I get smarter, and I'm like, oh, and I have to sit down for a minute. You did the one where you were a witch, where you were chanting. That was fantastic. I love that one.
Oh God, yeah. These people are just so dumb. The shit they say. I was like, okay, well, how about this? Is this demonic? Because this is what she's doing. So I'm just saying. Go ahead, comment. Tell me. Let me know. I want to know.
There you go. Let us know. We had a commenter in the vertical chat. Good morning, commenter in the vertical chat. I don't recognize her name. I don't think. Said, what was the Daniel? Daniel Anhoff says, not today, Satan, not today. And I had to point out that actually it clearly stated on the calendar that we hang out with Satan today because he has couples therapy with God tomorrow. So it has to be today. We've been waiting for this for a while. I mean,
Some tight schedules.
yes, that's right. Reserved seating and everything. So
I get that. Busy boy.
Let's see, Randall Flagg. Good morning. Let's see what you had to say. Somebody's something's going on. Mr. Peabody, good morning all. Can't wait to troll the damn show and all the Christians in the chat because that gives me meaning. Since I'm locked in my basement all day.
Oh boy.
There you go, Mr. Peabody. There you go. The skeptic. Just blink
Hope
twice.
there's a bathroom down there.
Yeah, blink twice if you need help. There's non sequiturs here too this morning. Good morning, Miss Non Sequitur. Kelly, something about Kelly. Dr. Ben is here. Good morning, Dr. Ben. Or was here. Good morning, Dr. Ben. I wanted to say hello to everybody. So, hello, everybody. The topic of the day, as we have noticed, is, it says the wrong thing down there. I'm a bad Chris. I'm still learning to get my shit together. But the topic of the day is, what do Christians, who do they worship more? The acts of Jesus or the words of Paul? Fun for the whole family. Let's see. What for art thou being a jerk? Show topics. There we go. Pardon me, 1,000 apologies, my friends, while I get my rose and a duck. That poor dog. Okay, so let's see if that's going to say up right on the screen. Nope, that's good enough. Close enough, though. We got this. I ain't scared. We'll blame Ryan. One of these days, there we go. I'll find somebody else to blame, but for now, we're blaming Ryan. Anyway, so Jesus is not your prophet. Paul is. So that's kind of the situation for today. So if y'all want to talk about it, whenever we start taking calls, be ready. That's sort of, hopefully, maybe what we'll talk about. I've been doing some editing, Miss Ryan, of some of the clips and the calls we've taken for the shorts, and you'll see some of them. They're edited. I try to be.
If you come across my FYP.
Good. When you watch them, I try to be fair with the editing. I don't try to misrepresent them in the editing. There's only so much time you can put into a 3-minute little thing. It just as I was reviewing these videos from this week and last week, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I am just amazed by how little so many of these people know about their own religion. The guy who called in and believes that the 10 Commandments is the only thing out of the Old Testament, and it's the New Testament and the 10 Commandments. And I'm like, wow, man. He said that with truth in his heart, like he believed it. And he said it again and again. I'm like, no. Anyway, thank you for the. Would you like to read would you read our super chat for us, Miss Ryan?
Sure. So, Beard of Empathy, thank you so much for $5, says, free tip from a therapist. Physical health is linked to mental health. Find some time to move your body today in whatever way feels right for you. I agree. I kind of like the by the side of the road car salesman balloon guy.
Ooh,
I like them.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, keeps you limber.
I'm just saying.
Thank you for the $5 super chat. Beard of Empathy. Free tip from a therapist. Physical health is linked to mental health. That's true. Physical. Yeah, I think, okay. I know what's going on. You mean you paid $5 to call me a fatty? Is that what's happening here?
Oh, shit.
You're like, get off the couch, old man.
It's like that.
It's like that. I see how it is.
It's like that. Oh, shit. Okay. All right.
Hey, I know. It used to be love handles. Now it's a love rail because it goes all the way around. But at least
love tube.
There you go. Oh, love tube. Yeah, it's a safety device. If I fall, or if I fall into a body of water.
On impact.
As long as I start with my head up, I'll feel okay. If I start with my head down, man, I'm screwed.
All over.
That's true. Good morning, John Hudson. Man, John is awesome. Sorry about your dogs again. Me and the wife, the evil one, were talking about John yesterday. And then we had to go wash our mouths out. We were like, ooh, that's yucky, John. Anyway, it was fun, John. You're awesome. You're the evil one's favorite troublemaker, she says. Yeah. And of course, I mean, we used to have Raven. I was like, Raven, you can just keep your money. Just show up, dude.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Raven was so... When Raven wasn't dancing on the line like angels on the head of a pin, he was hilarious. But every now and then, Dave Raven would come and say something. I'm like, dude, you fuck, I don't care if you're Australian. You can't say that.
Right?
You can't do that. I know. I was like, man, I can't read that out, dude. I can't read that out. I don't think there's been very many super chats that we've gotten that I couldn't read out. You know?
Those were the days. It was Raven. It was always Raven. When I was like, Raven. I am not saying that.
It was Raven, yeah. John says, I feel honored. You know, I mean, John is awesome. We're kind of a similar kind, not to use the Ark Encounter words as far as we're just kind of similar kind of folk. And he's awesome. Kind of reminds me of my brother. I have a brother. I have several brothers. He reminds me of my cool brother. Not the asshole brother or the jerk brother or the idiot brother, just the cool brother.
That brother, right.
That would be the one in Zathras, not Zathras.
Grumpy, dopey, mean.
Yes, that's right.
Chris.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Move. I got this. Says, why does he have a lighter in his hand? It's a magic lighter, as you can see. It's a nervous habit. Is that okay, or is that a problem? Ooh,
no,
I got
problem.
That could be a problem. Let me see if I got some. Oh, I got some nail clippers. I do have some nail clippers. I'll play with the nail clip. I used to have a little green ball here that I would play with all the time, but I keep losing it because it's round and it bounces and it rolls off. But I actually use the lighter. I do indeed use the lighter. I partaketh in the cannabis with the lighter. So if that's where you're going, then yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not just for decoration, if that's what you mean. Look, I have a lighter. It's like showing off my wealth. I've got a lighter.
Look what I have.
Yes.
Show and tell.
Awesome. Move. I get this as you don't steam stuff. I don't. Thank you very much. It's one of those things where you do it often enough. Good morning, Brian. Says Ace Trades Doc 17382. Insane topic. It is a little bit of a crazy topic. It's a matter, I feel, Doc, it's kind of a matter of how much you know about the text, how much was allegedly written by Paul, how much people follow of what Jesus actually allegedly did, and how much they follow about what Paul tells them to do. There's kind of a divide, and not a lot of Christians realize that they do more about. Paul never met Jesus. At best, he may have met one of the disciples at best, but he never met Jesus. He even says he met him in a vision on the road. It was just like a hallucination. At best. I mean, he admits that in the book. Mm-hmm. So,
I think the doctrine keeps people from thinking beyond that. Because I grew up just believing that all of those, what I now know are anonymous books, were the actual people. Like, Mark actually wrote that down, and he knew Jesus. Right. You're connecting all these dots, and all these people know each other, and that's how the information is stayed in this circle, and it can be trusted. And when you start to peel back the layers, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Actually, when they got, when you find out when they were written and disseminated, and then you're like, oh, that doesn't line up how they've told me.
That's right.
It changes things.
Yeah, I can't
really changes.
I cannot remember when I realized that they weren't written by the people who they say they were written by. They're named after. I mean, I've known it for so long.
Yeah, it's like, when was that? When did that?
When did I find that? I remember, I want to say I remember being surprised. But if I can't remember learning the experience, I can't tell you I was surprised. It'd be kind of a little, but it just, I'm like, man, really? Anyway, and then to find out that the earliest writings were 60-ish years after, and that Paul, I remember thinking, wow, Paul was the dude, and then Paul never met Jesus. Wow. There's some points they leave out. I'm just saying, in my Christian upbringing.
Very intentionally, I would say. Very intentionally. I do think that even if Christians had breaking that down, they'd still find a way to believe it, But I think that they really hold fast to that because it really dissolves a lot of the history that they've been told existed. There's years where there's just nothing.
Right.
There's nothing happening.
Yeah, it's a really neat little package that happened. Jesus come out, all the apostles, John, Paul, everybody kind of did their thing like the Beatles. And then they split up because of Yoko Ono and Mary. And then after that, I mean, it was all one big story. But when you find out that it wasn't, it was a long story, a broken up story.
History.
Yeah, and then there's four different gospels, and they're all different. Each one is different from the others. Now, I guess Matthew was the beginning, or Mark was the first one, and then the other ones some of the other ones were taken out. Either way, even knowing that they took information from the very first one of the Gospels that was written, they still contradict each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fascinating.
And the J-Dubs are really good with taking one story and then piecing that one story through the different books to make you feel as though, again, it's one cohesive story being told by all these people. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. This writer changes the story completely, and then so does this writer. And this guy doesn't even mention like the birth and stuff. And then this guy gets the date wrong compared to. It's like, oh, wait, what are they doing? What are they pulling from? Why is this information so wrong if it happened?
Right. And some of them are just unwilling to shake off their own ignorance. They know wrong. They know they know what they know is incorrect, but they let faith drive them. Let's see. We've got Obi says, I wanted to ask Grandpa Atheist, do you think Muhammad saw Angel Gabriel? No, I don't. And then double standards. I don't really understand that. Why you would think that. Grandpa Atheist want to teach us our religion.
Huh?
I would like you to know, and I know this may bother you, my friend, but
Grandpa Atheist.
I'm not a grandfather. I'm not a grandfather. I know. You didn't bother to ask, but yeah, sad.
Ageist.
I know. Why is Grandpa Atheist afraid to talk about Islam like others? Are you biased that it will be so disappointing at your age, Grandpa Atheist? This is the same person who every time they speak, they expose their ignorance. They have no idea. I mean, I don't like Islam either. I speak out against Islam. But again, me and Ryan and me and the people on the show, as we've said before, Islam is not being shoved down our throats like Christianity is. Your Christianity, if you're a Christian, is being shoved down our throats, being in our schools, in our court systems, all over the place. Your churches are everywhere, crosses everywhere. You cry out that you're oppressed, and then you go around oppressing and forcing your bullshit on us. Muslims aren't doing that, dude. And when they do, I'll bitch about them. But until then, I'm going to bitch about Christians. So see how ignorant you are? You didn't even know what the hell you were talking about. I could go on. After watching Ian and these other people, I should not be watching these people. I just,
Are they better?
Are they what?
Bad influences?
They're bad influences, Yeah. I remember I first started, I'm like, I've been watching some Matt Dillahunty, and here I am yelling at people. I didn't need to quit watching. I was blaming Matt Dillahunty. Anyway, so let's see. John, back in a bit later. John, go do that thing. Go find yourself a porcupine. Sorry that you gotta, go take it somewhere. What do you think dedicate your firstborn to the Lord means?
I know what it means.
There you go. Yeah. And is that the one that brings us back to the whole Moloch? They're pissed off because they're sacrificing to Moloch, but you're supposed to dedicate anyway. There's another thing where, and I don't, this is wording. This is one of those I really wish Dr. Kip was around, because I would trust him and listen to him instead of arguing with him. Is that there's a place in the Bible where it says you can give your daughter or sell your daughter as a somebody's wife. If she doesn't satisfy that man, he can give her back to you, and you can redeem her. And I didn't know what that meant. To me, it sounds like, well, you can't sell her as a wife. Now, you can't give her away as a wife because she's lost her virginity. So she's kind of useless to you. Does that mean redeem her as in kill her and redeem her? Or is that redeem her as in what? Sell her as a slave to I'd like to know what that meant. Whenever you give your daughter as a and they give them back, and the redemption happens. I'm just curious how that happens. So that's my thinking. Let's see. No. Yeah.
That could have a dark meaning that it's just overlooked. Just like with Jephthah's daughter, right? People think
exactly right.
Oh, he sent her off to the temple. She's good, but that's not the deal between
that's not what the text
and God.
Says.
That wasn't the deal. The deal was I want that blood. But people overlook it, right? So maybe that's something there that's being overlooked. It might just be there in the Hebrew. It might be in the words right there.
Yeah. It looks like we have quite a few, I guess, Christians in the chat. Apparently, is that a good thing? I don't know. Let's see what some of them have to say. Actually, we do have a link and a phone line. There's a Discord link in the chat below and a phone number. I don't start taking calls until after the bottom of the hour. It gives us time to say hi to everybody and, kind of have a little fun with the show.
Meet and greet.
Meet and greet. So, let's see. The camera is kind of showing the demon that seems to be residing in you. That's interesting. Are they talking to me or you?
Probably me.
Probably you, because you're. I mean,
I usually get told I just got it the other day. You commented on the video where I got called a demon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to be fair, I've been saying that about you for a while now. So
I have my parents have been saying that about me too.
Demon, be gone! I cast thee from this spirit. Anyway, Randall says not worth looking up. You guys are talking about what you're talking. Obi, it almost seems like Obi has some sort of passive aggressive sexual aggression towards me, maybe sexually attracted to me, but is having a hard time dealing with that internally, as you can see just from the childish remotely. I mean, just these crazy posts this individual is making. Yes, and the more they speak, it's like, oh my God, they do want my attention.
That's what leads me to believe something is up when someone is just kind of like, me, hi, look at me, pick me, please, hi, Grandpa Atheist, will you pick me, ha, 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 ha. Like, okay.
It is kind of a thing, though, where, I read what they say, and I try to engage with them, and sometimes they just get stupid, where you're talking to like a 12-year-old, and I quit responding. You've seen me do it a lot. So
they're not here for intellectual debate. Yeah. They're just here to antagonize.
And Odie seems to think that they are the first person to call me Grandpa Atheist. Oh my goodness gracious. Atheists don't make good Bible scholars, says Paul. Well, really, I would disagree with you. I don't know. I don't actually think Dr. Kip is an atheist, so is Dr. Kip an atheist? I don't know. I'd have to ask.
That is a good question. I am not sure. I don't think that he's a believer in anything, but I think he has deep respect. But
Maybe, yeah. I mean, obviously he does. He's
He probably
fascinating.
says it in his book, but
He may. Yeah, he may. It was like Dan McClellan. I was surprised to find that Dan McClellan was a believer. It surprised me. Yeah.
right, and that this is like a recent thing or something like that.
Oh, I really don't know. I didn't even know until I saw Godless Engineer say, man, I support him completely, but I don't tithe to him because he's a believer and he tithes to a church. And so I don't want my money going to a church. I was like, really? I had no idea. And Anani says, Dr. Kip is an ex-believer. Not sure what label he adopts, though. Thank you, Anani. An anonymous source on the internet told me. It was even named Anani. But I take their word for it because they look like a fine, upstanding individual in the chat. Yeah. Let's see. And Paul says Bible scholars always become Christian. Man, do you see what I mean about these people who... That is not true. It is not true. In fact, Paul, you will find, don't trust me, go look it up. You will find that seminary is one of the biggest killers of faith. Yeah, going to seminary school. Don't trust me. Go look for yourself. You go find out for yourself how many people have been all about their faith in Catholicism or religion or whatever until they go to school and they start getting teaching and they realize it and then they're out. Go look it up. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. What tends to happen more often is that the more people get educated, the more likely they are to leave the religion. So there's that.
Yeah.
Mostly
Unless they realize that it's an excellent tool for them to now use that knowledge against people, which I do believe a lot of Theobros do.
I wouldn't. Yeah. Ace Trades is here. Let's see. Mostly Gizzards is here. Dan is an active Mormon. Is that okay? I remember hearing something about that thing. Yeah. Not only was it that he was a person of the faith, but that it was one of those faiths that I thought was a little more cultish. I remember that, and that kind of lines up with what you're saying. So
yeah. So isn't that kind of wild? I love Dan. This is.
Yeah.
I don't know how do I feel about that? How would I feel about a JW? This wouldn't be allowed. You wouldn't be allowed to be a JW and stay in and speak out about them.
Right.
But if that were happening, I would be like that. I would think that's a good thing because I would want someone from the inside, especially if they had like a platform,
right,
and maybe could change some minds to do that. So, maybe I don't know. My worry is that he's bringing people in, I guess, maybe sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's so good.
He is good, and I respect him. Whenever whenever he says this is this, and it's not only because I see him on the thing, but I've seen his credentials too. It's like Dr. Kip.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I'm just talking to somebody on the internet.
Courses.
Yeah, and then you see their credentials. You're like, oh wow, this is somebody who's actually done the thing. They're not just. And then I'm like, wow, and he still believes. So that's a testament to something.
Right. But see, it is possible. It is possible to have a steadfast faith, still believe, but have it based in reality.
Yes.
And not want to force other people to suck it down their damn throat.
Right.
Yeah. Be more like Dan McClellan.
Be more like Dan McClellan. Merrick says, the first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will turn you into an atheist, but at the bottom of the glass is God waiting for you, according to somebody. That's fascinating. That's interesting. That doesn't mean it's true. And again, you'll find that like the percentage of scientists who are non-believers. Now there's a thing called a deist. A lot of people who in that situation, they might not believe in God, but they may go, the universe is just so big, so fantastic that there has to be something bigger than me, not the God of the Bible, but something bigger than me. And those people we call deists. Did you hear that?
I did.
So trading has started.
Trading.
Yeah. My mind has been divided lately. I've been teaching myself to trade stocks. Yeah. It's one of those things.
Cool.
I had 9. I traded 11 times yesterday and I had 9 wins. It was a good day. It's all paper trading right now, but because I'm learning.
cool.
I am learning. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we take a quick break, we'll take a call or three, and see how things go. Move, I got this. Oh, you guys are talking. You guys got a conversation going in the chat. That is fantastic. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. Oh, hey, we got Ghost Rider over in the Discord. Good morning, Ghost Rider. Thank you for joining us. We're kind of new to the Discord, so anybody listening over there, it's nice to have you. So, and guys, there's a link to the Discord down there if you want to go to the Discord. Heisenberg quote isn't from Heisenberg. Not surprised. Not surprised. Let's do a thing. Let's see. What should we do this morning? What do I want to inflict upon you guys today? I really like that. Let's do this one. We'll be back in a minute and we'll get some calls. Do you have a loved one who's on their deathbed, but they've yet to give themselves up to the Lord?
Are you sure you don't want to come to Jesus?
No.
This is your final chance.
No. Worried they're headed to the fiery pits of hell.
Your very last chance.
No. I've been wicked and sinful. I deserve to burn in the hot place.
As you wish. Farewell, my heathen husband.
Farewell, my... Well, fear not, my wayward child. Introducing Father Flanagan's line of post-mortem baptismal kits. No more worries about being miserable alone forever. Be a good Christian and share that eternal pain and suffering with the ones you love. I'm in hell. Not as hot as I thought it'd be. Kind of feels like Houston, minus the humidity. Hello. My favorite drink crafted to perfection. Ooh, and some dank ass weed.
I can't bear to be down on my face chanting, holy, holy, holy is the Lord, every day, all day, for all eternity, by myself.
Wow, is that George Carlin? And Alan Turing, look at that. Carl say, oh, I am so honored. You've been my hero since I was a kid. Neil deGrasse Tyson, what are you doing here? Oh, I get it. I get it. Schrodinger's heathen. Very cute, you. Very cute. That's fantastic. Oh, what is that? What is? It's holy water. Oh, it burns. No, this isn't where I want to be. Pabst Blue Ribbon and a Marlboro? No! Father Flanagan's post-mortem baptismal kit. Dead kid tested, Mother Teresa approved. Is that the Pope and John Paul? Jim Jones and Jimmy Swaggart, huh? I can see that coming. Neil deGrasse, what are you doing? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord.
Thanks, Father Flanagan.
Damn them to an eternity in heaven for only $59.99. They wouldn't appreciate it, but you'll feel better, and that's the point, isn't it? Get yours now. Your heathen loved one's time is running out. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. This is some bullshit. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord. All right, we are back this morning, and we are talking, of course, about stuff. Now, I noticed that Paul here in the chat, the thing that the phones are up, but Zing Fushu Sheng is here. It's been so long, Zing Fushu Sheng. I thought you had been taken captive by the aliens. I mean, at least bring him back eventually, or them back eventually. Thank you for joining us. Paul said something in the chat here. I want to mention Paul said, Paul said, don't ever tell me that you love me. Paul said, damn it, where is it? The chat movie Fast. And it was right there.
I hate that.
Me too. Oh, see. Paul said, atheists make bad scholars because we have a bias, is what he said. And I'm looking for it. I just can't find it. But Paul said it out loud even. And so I responded in the chat right there. It was right there beside it. It must be over one of the. I responded in the chat that because I'm all wise and scholarly kind of stuff, that atheists have an outside perspective. Theists are the ones who have a biased attitude as scholars because they try to find their specific God in the text. But an atheist doesn't believe in any of that stuff, so they are objectively studying the text. There are some atheists who study it specifically, like I do, specifically to find flaws in the reasoning that Christians put forth. But yeah, that sort of thing. Who's got a website? You got a website? Somebody's got a website. I just wanted to respond to that and let you know, Paul. I just kind of think you're wrong on that. And I think that's why you're wrong. Fictoqueer is here today. Fictoqueer, I would rather take mushrooms, see God that way. Wait, isn't that how humans invented God, by taking drugs? It's fantastic.
Possibly. There's a whole book about it.
There is. Were we talking? I was talking about it. Maybe it's Genesis 15 or 16. One of them about how the Lord came to Moses, or not Moses, but Abraham, and Abraham had all these visions, and the Lord spoke to Abraham, and the Lord came in the form of a flaming fire in front of Abraham. And this is almost all certainly hallucinogenic drugs that were absolutely available at the time. So, I mean, not like they had a corner mart where you could go buy it, but yeah.
I mean, it could have been part of their worship practice. We don't even know.
Maybe. What is the purpose of this stream? Are you trying to learn scripture, or are you just making a platform? You're both, actually. Merrick, actually kind of both. Yeah.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Yeah, you would be surprised how much I know about your Bible and your religion. And you would be surprised by how much you probably don't know about your Bible and your religion. Not that I know at all. I'm just talking like percentages. Generally, when we have atheists or Christians come in here and like, I know about the Bible. Well, they remember, Ryan, we were just talking about it. The guy who came in, was it yesterday, the day before, who said, the Old Testament doesn't matter except for the new 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments and the New, just ignore everything else. I'm like, really? That's... These people, they don't know.
Says who?
Says who?
Well, why so? It makes no sense.
Right.
Why just choose that? Why? That's kind of arbitrary. It feels super arbitrary to just choose those 10 out of all of them.
Out of all of them.
The hundreds, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's also the thing about the 10 Commandments, the Old Testament, that a lot of, well, somebody pointed out in the chat that without the Old Testament, we don't have original sin. That's what Jesus died for. So if you don't have the Old Testament and you don't have original sin, then Jesus died, his whole purpose was useless, for one.
And I don't even think the words original sin are in the Bible. I think that's like a later.
Oh, yeah. It's a Catholic thing, right?
Probably, you know, like, oh, it's just always going to be inside of you.
True. Oh, and Charles Oliver knocks it out the park and says, good morning, Charles, and says fasting is a hell of a drug. That's right. There's oftentimes they intentionally fast it, and that'll make you hallucinate. You're all right. So we're talking about people in the ancient desert in the Middle East. So they probably weren't as well fed or nutritious as us. And going without food would probably do some things, I would guess. So there's that. Let's see. Tripolar. Oh, M disorder. Tripolar. Good morning, Tripolar. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing great. I don't think Christians really know said Merck. Their Bible, for the most part, it is such a rich book and interconnected that you have to be careful when you study it. I guess you could see it that way. It's got so many contradictions, and there are a lot of heinous, horrific things about it. I'll post a link if you're interested in looking. Individual who is in the chat. If I can find my links. Where are my links? They don't want my link. They really don't. I'm wasting my own time, and I know it. But I'll put the link. Yeah, you know it is. Here, let's go here. And let me post the link. Where was that individual? Oh, Godless Granny is here. Everybody be nice. Godless Granny is here. I'll just post it in both of them. There's the link in the horizontal, and there's a link in the vertical. And you can go check out all the Bible contradictions. You can find lies, contradictions, all kinds of things. It's just fantastical. And we're not all atheists. That's a good point. Don't boil. Yes, and Godless Granny has got an excellent point. One of the commandments is don't boil a goat in its mother's milk. And I try not to.
You know what that means.
I know. Occasionally, it's hard not to, right? I mean, But that's one of those commandments that everything, just got to follow because God.
Yeah, I think that's why you're not supposed to eat cheese on a hamburger or something like that.
Oh, really?
You can't have.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess I could see that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Paul says I fast between meals. Paul, I don't know what else me and you agree on, but I agree on that as well. I too fast between, or at least that's how it feels. I know I just ate 3 hours ago, but I think I can make it to the kitchen.
I feel that.
I do. I've been bad. Now that I got the Shakespeare plays coming up, I got to get back on my feasting. My feasting.
Exactly, misinterpretations.
Exactly.
Whose interpretation?
Yes. Can we boil a goat in another goat's milk? And see, that's the whole thing without the cheese on the burger. I mean, what are the odds that the cow that meat came from is the child of the milk from the cow that the cheese came from? But you never,
Unlikely.
You never know. I don't know. They'll find a way to be weird about shit anyway. That was a pagan ritual, and God in Exodus was turning people away from paganism.
Love it, Mark. See, that's what we need to do. I feel like that's how we should approach this stuff. Start asking those questions. Okay, well, it doesn't say that. Well, what about this?
What about that? That's right.
How literal are we supposed to take the Bible? And was it Faraj? Is that his name? Who yesterday was saying about what he does and does not accept about the Bible?
Yeah.
What are you using to qualify?
Right.
Is it based on does your Quran say exactly which stories are real and which stories are fake? Or is this just based on your preference, what you feel like?
Yeah. And I think I actually kind of was able to determine what he used to determine what he liked from the Old Testament and what he didn't like from the Old Testament. And it was essentially, if it was something that made God look good, he liked it. If it made God look bad or any of the prophets look bad, he didn't like it. He didn't want it. And the notion,
there you go.
When I found this scripture that literally says, don't add to this book. Well, of course, he doesn't like that scripture either. Mm-hmm. That's corrupt. But see, that's the whole deal.
I think you said that's not part of the Hebrew text or something like that.
That's right. That's not part of the Hebrew text.
But okay, and you know how I feel about that. I don't think that the New Testament should be connected to the Hebrew scriptures, but their story is partly based on the New Testament. Yeah. So it actually does hold up, because isn't your story kind of based on some of the people in the New Testament?
They believe in Jesus and believe he was a prophet.
Right.
That means
they actually really respect Jesus. Right. Judaism, a lot of Judaism, doesn't like Jesus that much, but the Muslims actually do see him as a prophet.
So like all the rest of the Old Testament, the part he doesn't like in the New Testament, they get rid of. He doesn't like the part in the New Testament. It's actually the same book that talks about the Lamb, Jesus, coming back. Oh, they call it Jesus. It doesn't specifically say. But the Lamb coming back. That's the same book that says, do not, but it's all corrupt. And you heard my argument. Well, yours is corrupt. It actually says a new corrupt one is going to come. Don't listen to it. And it meant like all of them, really. But that's my thing. Question. What does dedicate your firstborn to the Lord mean? You've said that a couple of times. Let's see, what's your name again? Move on. What does dedicate your firstborn to the Lord mean? I'd like to know what your point is and what you're looking for. Yeah. Dedicate your firstborn and to what? Ooh, Carlos is here. Good morning. What?
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say Carlos is here. Good morning, Carlos. Hi there. How there. Ho there. Sorry for being late. Good day. Good morning, Carlos. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. So you were saying about the that's something in the Bible. What does it have to do with? I'm just curious.
Just the Exodus. Exodus is pretty explicit. There are parts of because Exodus is pieced together. Leviticus, they're all pieced together. But in Exodus, there's one scripture that says you have to give your child over to the Lord. Like, no clause whatsoever. Like, oh, but you can do this so that way it redeems them. Then later, there's another scripture where it does give you the clause. So there were times that you can see that it was demanded by Yahweh that you had to give your child over. It's just people don't know that because they really don't care to check. Because again, that doctrine and that dogma just holds everything together.
Yes. And we've talked about it before whenever they want to bring up the whole Moloch thing. And I could be corrected on this, but the reason why God was mad about them sacrificing their children to Moloch wasn't that they were sacrificing their children. It was that they were sacrificing them to Moloch instead of giving the firstborn child to Yahweh. That's my understanding. So,
well, actually,
correct me.
Actually, Moloch didn't come about until the 2nd century with the Septuagint. That's the first time that we get an offering to Moloch. So that's where the cover-up comes in.
That's just a made-up story. Go ahead.
Exactly. It's a made-up story because previously the children were being handed over to Yahweh. But again, I will say to people that it wasn't a super widely done practice. People did it in extreme times of like exasperation. And yes, there is a story in the Bible that shows you that God was very angry that the child wasn't given to him when there was the fight against the King Mesha. And King Mesha was the one who sacrificed his son up on the wall, if you remember, and God was angry, and then they fled. The Israelites fled. Well, God was angry because the child wasn't offered to him. That's why he was angry, and that's why they fled. Mesha did the right thing with the offering. I'm just saying the Moloch thing is just a late invention because it was done sometimes. It's not good. I'm not saying it's good. Nobody's saying it's good.
We're not offending it.
But people today like give their kids over to their God happily. You know what I'm saying?
They do.
They just don't see it that way. You know,
and some of them do. Some of them literally sacrifice their children to the Christian God.
Some actually do.
Yeah. By denying them medicine or any of those. There's several different ways they do it. We have a caller. I don't remember, you know how the screen is. Let's see who it is. Ooh, Matthew. Wait, before we get there, Matthew Malkin says consensus among historians is that Adolf Hitler was not a Christian, but rather anti-Christian, anti-clerical, and irreligious, despite being baptized Catholic. That are your very first statement. Consensus among historians. You should stop doing that. Don't say that anymore, especially whenever what the rest of you says is so patently wrong. I don't have time for that. That's not, go look up, go figure it out. The Catholic Church absolutely supported Hitler and he liked it. So I'm going to get our caller up here. Who is our caller? Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome. Is this Bonnie?
Yeah.
Bonnie. Okay.
Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you doing today?
Okay, how are you?
Pretty good so far. You wanted to say something about the body and divorce in the Bible.
Yes, you were talking about it earlier. When I started reading the Bible for real, not what I thought it said, but what I found it really said, the thing about divorce is what really turned me off. If you go to Deuteronomy 22, and you've talked about this before because I've heard you, 13 through 21, a guy, if he took a girl to marry her and she was not able to prove her virginity, she was stoned to death.
There's that.
And but he got fined 100 silver shekels if her parents took the sheets from the bed and showed that she bled, that she was a virgin. So he was fined 100 silver shekels, but she had to die if they couldn't prove from the sheets that she was a virgin. That's Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 21. And then Deuteronomy 24, 1 through 4, it talks about if a man marries a woman and he rejects her for some reason, he can write out a certificate of divorce, and so she can go marry somebody else. But if that second husband rejects her, she can't go back to the first one. So, I mean, it just shows you how unfair it was to women. And when you read Deuteronomy, the entire book of Deuteronomy, from beginning to end, is Moses speaking. he's speaking. It's quote marks through the entire book of Deuteronomy, except for I think the last chapter maybe. Yeah.
He just goes on about himself, it sounds like.
Yeah, when Jesus said, well, he wrote out divorce to the Israelites because of their hard-heartedness. I don't think so. I don't think that had anything to do with it at all. I think it just shows, that women didn't count.
Right. A lot of victim blaming goes on in the Bible.
Yeah. So anyway,
there's a lot of that.
Yeah, and if he divorced, and if I think that's in Deuteronomy too, that if he raped a girl, then I think you were talking about that he had to pay the dad 50 shekels, and then he couldn't divorce her his whole life. He had to stay with her his whole life.
He's stuck.
If I may, and this is, again, it could be a matter of semantics in the word, but it's only if he rapes her and gets caught. It literally says that. If he rapes her and gets caught, then he has to pay.
And if she's not engaged or married.
Yeah, because then
if she screams, she gets off. But if she didn't scream, then they would kill her. If she was raped, I mean, if she was engaged or married, then they would kill her if she did not scream.
Yep. And if the guy covered her mouth, or if there were more than one of them, or if they were far away from people, or if a number of things, and it's still her fault when she wakes up on her wedding day and doesn't have a hymen and she's stoned to death.
Yeah, and so it looks like the parents had to spend the night with them, and they had to keep the sheets as proof. I mean, anyway,
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Anyway.
Doesn't surprise. Thank you for that, Bonnie.
I'll let you go. Talk to you later.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Such a crazy ritual, right?
So much of it is, and a lot of it.
So concerned and obsessed.
Yeah. Over somebody else's sexual habits. I mean, well, back in the day, what they were trying to do is secure their lineage to make sure that kid is mine so he can carry on my business.
Right.
But
Property.
It's all
We need to know what gets passed down to who.
Yeah.
There needs to be a dude somewhere that keeps this, this our land, our property, our heritage passed down through the lineage,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. That's what the whole virginity is about, to make sure that whenever you get there, it's pure. And then, the reason why the punishment is so severe, because once she's cheated on you, you don't know if that kid's yours. And then you don't know in the future if you can trust her, if that kid is yours. It's just these people, man. Anyway, let me see here. I noticed there were some people. Now, there was talk about Hitler and being a Catholic and all that business. And the Catholic Church absolutely supported Hitler as much as the modern day evangelical Christian church supports Donald Trump now. Donald Trump,
crazy.
Right. Donald Trump Adolf Hitler was probably as much a Catholic as Donald Trump is an evangelical. So when you say Donald Trump wasn't a Catholic or a Christian, or not Donald Trump, but Hitler, sorry, you see, I could get them conflated. When you say he wasn't a Catholic, I probably can't really argue with you that in his heart, he didn't go around being a Catholic. But him and the Catholics were in bed together, and they used that power together, and the Catholics supported him. There's a Catholic guy who was talking about, there was a church, I think it was always down in, I don't remember where it was, but this priest was telling the stories about how he could hear the people screaming from the torture, from the being tortured. And yet over in this other building are his fathers and bishops who are supporting the regime that is doing the torture. It was something I saw. I'll have to see if I can find it one of these days. It also shows the Israelites how God is disgusted. God, I don't know about that. God is not disgusted at human sacrifice. I don't think that's a correct assertion.
His son is his son not the epitome of killing your kid?
Right.
I'm just why do people overlook that? Is it because they benefited? That's what it is.
Right.
I got something special when he killed his kid, so therefore, bingo, bango,
Right.
it's okay he killed his kid.
Yeah.
I guess.
The individual in the chat who said God doesn't like child sacrifice must be ignoring Abraham. Wasn't it Abraham who was going to go, who God almost talked him into stop it, and then he stopped at the last. And I don't want to come at you too hard with this, my friend, but Jesus would be considered a child sacrifice. Your God creature sacrificed its firstborn son so you could go to heaven. God, are you picking up what I'm putting down? I think that should be a revelation for you. I really think you should ponder that. I don't think about that enough. Jesus was a child sacrifice to God.
Yes. To have a kid knowingly, specifically, I mean, this is the God that knows everything has a plan, is it not? Or am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
That created this child knowing that he was going to. Prove me wrong.
And then, yeah, that's right. Somebody asked, how long does this show end? About an hour. We've got about another hour. We're going to take a break here in a few minutes, and they'll join the Discord. Farhan is on the phone and wants to talk about Paul. I enjoy talking to Farhan. Let me talk about what happened yesterday. Yesterday, we had the topic was the Christian God is crazy. The Christian God is the God of the Old Testament. Farhan called. I said, I admit that I don't know enough about his Bible or his prophet to speak on them concerning the subject. He said that he considered the Old Testament invalid. It was corrupt. And that's what we're talking about. So I'm talking about the Old Testament, the Christian God, which is actually the God of all of them, right? And he considers it. So what are we going to talk about after that? Every point I made, he's like, well, that's like Ryan and I were talking about earlier. He's like, oh, that doesn't count. That isn't real. That doesn't count. So now he wants to talk about Paul. I'm not going to talk about it. Paul, I hope you can hear me, Farhan. I'm not going to talk to you about Paul. Why should I talk to you about Paul? Well, anything Paul said was corrupted, according to you. So it doesn't matter. It's a waste of my time. It was a waste of my time yesterday. We spent way too much time on it yesterday. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Anyway, Charles says Plessy allegedly didn't stay dead. Oh yeah. Oh no. We could do the whole. I don't know what tomorrow's topic is, but we could do a whole show on that. Jesus, A, he was not sacrificed. It was an execution by the Romans. And B, he didn't stay dead. He was given back everything. And C, he knew he was going to be given everything. So it wasn't a sacrifice. It was a shell game at best. Ooh, and we could talk about how the people didn't recognize him. They didn't because it was either somebody else pretending to be Jesus,
one of his brothers,
or something. Yeah, because Jesus, he was dead. Anyway, I got thoughts on that too. Over 2,700 clergy were imprisoned at Dachau concentration camp, nearly 95% of whom were Catholic. I don't see that doesn't matter, man. You need to go. I think you need to go look up what's going on in the Catholic Church and you need to go look that up. You really do. What percentage of the people in the concentration camps were not Jews? Does that mean they weren't focusing on Jews? It's weird. We did have a super chat from Henry, $2. Let's keep pounding. Thank you, Henry. Yeah. So
appreciate you.
Absolutely. And there's the whole Gott mit uns on the Nazi belt buckles. God is with us. I'm sorry. Now, again, I would actually agree with you. that Hitler himself was only using the Catholic Church. He was also trying to find power in like pagan things and anywhere he could find power. Yeah, he was all over the place. The whole Indiana Jones and them sending Germans and Nazis into Africa looking for artifacts and relics, that's to a degree true. Hitler was exploring anything that would give him power. If he could find a mighty rod that would, he was looking for anything. Yeah. So it's actually
how stupid he was to believe in this dumb shit.
Right. It's really quite complicated. So it's sometimes it's so complicated. We say these things in this sort of blah, 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 and it under encompasses what we mean. And like, you're wrong. You're like, technically you're right. I'm wrong, but you know what the fuck I mean, dude. Anyway, let's take a quick break. Whenever we come back, we'll do things. Let's see here. God's divine power in nature can be seen by what is made. Oh, so look at the trees. I'm convinced. So no one has an excuse. Yeah, God's divine power, God's divine rage, God's divine anger, God's divine punishment, God's divine fear, God's divine love. What should we do for God's divine stuff today? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. What was you? Let's do this one. We'll be back.
Are you feeling the world is leaving you behind? Do you look at all the pseudoscience, rumors, and wild speculation on the internet and wonder, why can't I do that? Well, friend, you can. We can help you. We are Conspirowin. Conspirowin has a long history of helping anyone with a hidden truth. We will get your message out. The conspiracy theories you see today all started out with one person's vision. The moon landing hoax was launched by a NASA engineer whose manager didn't okay his vacation request. Conspirowin was there to help out. Christianity started out because one little girl named Mary got pregnant out of wedlock, and Conspirowin saved the day. Now, the virgin birth is accepted Catholic doctrine. You may be thinking, but my idea of the center of the earth being made of ice is far-fetched. No one's going to believe that. In a world where people believe windmills cause cancer, we say no dream is too big. Conspirowin will take your fledgling idea and feed it to our YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok operatives. And these savvy social media professionals will raise doubts with the prevailing scientific consensus. They will say no one has ever seen the planet's core except Jesus. And science is wrong all the time. That's why science has theories and not Jesus. Within 30 days, we guarantee you CNN will run a story on how your conspiracy theory isn't true. We will also give you 100% assurance Fox News will say your crazy idea about the Earth's core being an icy ball is true. Follow your heart. Listen to the voices no one else can hear. Team up with Conspirowin.
All right, we are back. Bonnie is swinging for the fences and says Jehovah killed David and Bethesda's adultery baby, 2 Samuel 12:15, to punish David. So, I mean, it really does look like God was about... Yeah, a lot of baby killing. And if you're against abortion, it actually mentions how to... If you suspect your wife has had an affair with another man, give her this potion... And the Bible tells you how to make this potion. Mm-hmm. And if she's been unfaithful to you, the baby will miscarry. The Bible gives you instructions on how to give an abortion, how to do an abortion.
I think it's called bitter water.
There's
they gather up the dust or something like that and put it in. I think they call it like bitter water. Mm-hmm. Yeah, isn't that kind of crazy? Mm-hmm. But I thought really God was against.
And when you read it, here's the thing. Here's the merciless thing about it. When you read it, you realize it's just dirt. It's just dirt and water and some sweat or some business. It's really simple. So if the woman actually didn't miscarry for any natural reason, she would be considered an adulteress and be killed.
Think of how often it happened
back in the day.
The time and just now, but even back in the day, probably maybe even more so. I have no idea, but probably and you're labeled with something that's not even true. Oh boy.
What is truth? Good morning. What is truth? Says God is very kind and loving, not anything like most of you believe. Have you what is truth? Have you, and I'm just curious, have you ever actually even read the Bible at all? Read it? God is vicious and mean and capricious, and I mean, he does nothing. We talked about this on the nothing in a peaceful, wise manner. It's all under the threat of murder and death, and being rent asunder, everything. We had a Christian on the show the other day, and he's like, well, what about that one town where God spared Nineveh? I was like, yeah, because Nineveh repented, but had Nineveh not repented, they would have been rent asunder. God doesn't do anything without high violence. What are you talking about? Peace and love. Jesus come through, and in like one little phrase or two little phrases says God is peace and love. But if you just kind of like read the rest of the Bible, you're like, oh shit. And what happens? What does the God of peace and love and mercy do to you if you don't worship it? If you don't believe in it, it burns you in a pit of fire forever, or whatever. However you believe it, Christians. We all have. We know you guys have a spectrum of what your notion of hell is, but there's that.
There's also there's a couple more, not couple more. There's several more, but there's also where there is a famine, and it's brought on by Yahweh, and Yahweh will not like let the fertility, come back to the earth until Saul's sons are murked.
Yeah. And here's a trick question for those people in the chat who don't think God was about killing the firstborn. Who was the person responsible for killing the firstborn children of Egypt? Was it God?
That story.
It was God. God did that. Even if, whether Pharaoh agreed, hardened his heart, didn't harden his heart, it didn't matter. The punishment was killing all the firstborn children. That's your God,
and what
man.
did they do?
That's your God. Yeah. Annie Stat, good morning, says, now I want some potato chips. Damn you, Satan. I know. I get up at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Actually, this morning I was up at midnight because I was having a migraine. I had a migraine, girl. I was like puking and all that.
Oh, dear.
I got the magic migraine medicine, did make the headache go away. And then by the time you guys get me, I've got the caffeine and the weed and the Ritalin on board. So I'm all speeding my titties off. But man, this was fucking rough. It was a whole hot and cold sweats, spitting or puking. My head was spinning around like that. Satan was, like Latin was coming out. It was horrific. It was bad. If only we had
That's what they should call it.
That's what they should call. That's what they should call it. Too bad we didn't have, what was his name? Ben Thorpe there. That classy, prime Catholic.
Those people are sick.
Ace Trades asked, did Paul meet Jesus? Yeah, that's a good question. You're asking Hitman. You said no one who met Jesus wrote anything down. Where's your proof? My friend, you go look for that. I don't have time to 9-year-old walk you through this. None of the texts about Jesus were written within 50 or 60 years of his lifetime. So all of them were written as hearsay at best. Now, somebody told somebody this happened at best. So you got to square with that, not me. As you go figure that out for yourself.
I mean, it's not that hard to figure out if you start to learn the timeline. You can like kind of look up when was Mark written, when was Matthew written, like, it's like,
right.
That doesn't make sense.
You're the one making the claim, says Hitman, and you said you only believe in things that have proof. The proof I have is that the only writings we have about Jesus go back to the 1st century AD, about 60 or so. You should go find that out for yourself, though. Go type that into chat or some shit, okay? Because now the more you speak in the chat, brother, the more you kind of expose your ignorance. You should watch that. The apostles wrote it down.
Is that what they replied to you? The apostles wrote it down?
Is so easy. Go look for it up for yourself. Don't trust me. Go look, man. Satan compels me to lie to you. Go look for yourself. Go, Ryan.
If you just think about it a little bit, the apostles at that time period, what kind of education would they have? Would they be able to read? Would they be able to write things down? No, it's very unlikely. There was right now, allegedly, if Jesus is a rabbi, we could say, yes, okay, he should have been able to read and write. But that could also be debated. But anyway, the likelihood of these very poor folk who's following Jesus around, have the ability to read and write stuff down and can afford it. Like, can you even imagine how much it would cost to write stuff down back then? It's not like you just like, oh, hold on, let me just go grab a piece of paper and a pen. It's just not how it worked. Those supplies were very costly. It's not just anybody writing the stuff down. And consider that it's not just written down like an everyday person writing it down like they would have been. This is fairly well written for that time period literature. Okay, so this is an educated person. I'm just saying.
That's right. Get him, girl. I'm sorry. I was reading what Tripolar said. When the potato chip snacking Timu Adam Savage calls you out on your ignorance and lies, you done messed up. Thank you for that. Yeah, I have mixed feelings on that one, but thank you. Yeah. So there's a lot of those things about Jesus, the things they thought about Jesus. I'm looking for the comment we had earlier. Hey, Jeremy. Good morning. Jeremy was taken. Jamie N was taken. Anyway, Jamie. I'm not going to look that scripture up. If you want me to know what that means, you need to type it in this. Put the 2 Timothy and then put it in there, and I'll read it. Maybe not every time out loud. I'm just saying my rule is I don't do that. If you want me to know what it is, you're going to put the thing in there.
Timothy is stupid. Why are you even reading Timothy?
Right.
Nobody wrote that even knew Paul. Sheesh. Get out of here. Get out of here.
And isn't it 2 Timothy 22 that tells women they should be silent? Shouldn't have.
One of them. I don't know which Timothy. I'm telling you, I don't even touch Timothy because I know it shouldn't even be in there. So I'm like,
yeah. Yep.
You ain't even close.
Let's see here. Mark Reed, children. Yep. Good morning. Faith is gullibility. Nini Baba. It's almost by definition. Gullibility. Faith and gullibility go hand in hand. Here's the thing. Jesus, even if he was capable, even if he was he was a priest, a Jewish rabbi, and he was capable of writing, he didn't. We have 0 writings from Jesus. There is no book of Jesus. None of the books of the New Testament were written within 50 to 60 years of the alleged life of Jesus. Go look this up, my friend. Don't trust me. You're going to go, oh, Josephus said something about the followers of Jesus coming through. Yeah, Josephus was born about, 50 or 60 years after Jesus allegedly died. So he wasn't even alive. Wasn't even born when Jesus died. But Tacitus, oh, shit. You got me with Tacitus. Damn it, Tacitus. Every time they get me with Tacitus was born 120 years after Jesus? So there are no contemporary writings about Jesus at all. Tell yourself there are. Go look it up for yourself. Go find the Bible scholars for yourself.
Yeah. Bart Ehrman pretty much breaks it down, and I think he's fairly apologetic to a lot of the Christian arguments, but he at least will be fairly honest about what you basically just laid out.
Gotcha.
And easy to follow too, I think.
Let's see here. The word, this, all right. If I glorify myself, my glory means nothing. And then Merrick says, would you even believe if there were writings of Jesus? No. Not if you had, just writings of Jesus. Is that all it takes is writings of Jesus? It would take a little more than just the writings of Jesus. I could be convinced that Jesus was a real person. I'm not yet, but I could be. Now, that doesn't mean, if you think that means that I believe he was the almighty Son of God. No. I could be convinced he was a real person. Like David Koresh. Or like Jim Jones. A real person who led his flock to their deaths. Yeah, but no, the almighty Son of God. And this notion, here's something else that I find quite disgusting. Let me read this quote back to you, Merrick. If I glorify myself, my glory means nothing. Let me extend that thought. I am worthless. I am disgusting. I am pathetic. I am nothing without Jesus. Jesus, you are almighty. Jesus, you are worthy. I am unworthy. You are holy. That is just disgusting. To belittle yourself in the eyes of before your Lord. That is just, go do you, boo, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna. And the whole thing, really, to be fair, if God were real and God knew, he would know. He'd know what it'd take to convince me. He wrote a book, apparently several of them. Yeah, he wrote a book, allegedly several of them. And yet, despite writing several books trying to convince us, his holy word was impotent, ineffective. It doesn't ring true with everyone. The millions of people over 2,000 years have been killed by Christians and Muslims and Christians against Muslims and Muslims against Christians and Christians against Jews and Jews against Muslims. And it just goes on and on and on about itself. But is it love if he forces himself on you? Is it love? That doesn't sound like love to me. Sounds like a lack of consent. Sounds kind of like rape.
Right? Boundaries, God, boundaries.
I know.
Has no one taught you what boundaries are? My goodness.
At least put a wrapper on it or some business. You know. Let's see here. We've got Ghost Rider over here in the chat, who's been sitting in the Discord for quite a while, patiently listening to my ignorance come about. And Dairy Fiend is there as well. Let's start with Ghost Rider. And see, Ghost Rider, are you there? They got to come up on the stage first, I think. We shall see. They may have stepped away. Maybe they're reconsidering their position on life. I sort of doubt it.
Danny Stast says, "What is love? Jesus, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more." Good job.
All Jesus has to do is deny you, and then all of a sudden you hurt forever. There you go, Ghost Rider. Good morning, Ghost Rider. How are you today?
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I haven't used Discord in like 10 years, so new to me, I guess.
I gotta be honest, I barely know how to use it myself. Yeah. I thought I could pull you up on the stage. I didn't know I had to invite you until like a week or two ago. Anyway, good morning.
How are you doing?
So far, so good. And you?
Pretty good. Usually I would like to come into a conversation like this kind of with my Bible like in hand. So I apologize. I had a retirement meeting this morning, so I'm actually on the road. But
okay.
I would like to discuss the topic.
Okay. All right. So you're Ghost Rider. I think I saw you in the chat. Didn't I see you in the chat earlier saying you were going to call back after a meeting?
So I'm actually Doc on YouTube.
Doc on YouTube. Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess I would just like to hear your thoughts on what do you think Paul contradicted Jesus in? Like what specific aspect?
I don't really know myself. I don't know.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I mean, Jesus said that he came to fulfill the law and not change anything about it, like he was cool with it. He just wanted to fulfill it. Yeah, he did agree that sometimes people took it too far and they were too rigid about it. He was very adamant about that. He wasn't cool with the Pharisees because of that very same reason. But when Paul came, he was like, oh, you know what? We don't have to do this. You don't have to worry about the things you eat. You don't have to worry about the little snippety snip. You don't have, and I forget all the things that, he said you don't have to worry about anymore, but now it's like faith through Christ. That's really what it's about now. So in my opinion, he completely changed who and what Jesus was about and what he came for.
Jesus was a Jewish rabbi.
Believe that's a huge contradictory. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a Christian. Jesus was a Jewish rabbi. We should all be Jewish people, or Christians should all be Jewish of a variety. Paul never met Jesus, right? Jesus was almost certainly circumcised. Jesus almost certainly sacrificed animals because that was part of the Jewish tradition and stuff like that. The new covenant with the Lord is to no longer sacrifice animals and to no longer get your no longer be circumcised. These are completely different from the teachings of Jesus.
Okay. Now it's interesting because I would agree that the teachings of Paul are they're in line with the teachings of Christ, but they are to an audience that would not fall under that covenant. Like, for example, God's covenant with Abraham was different than the new covenant under Moses. So the law that was given to Moses would be different than the law that was given to Abraham. However, that would not excuse Moses before that covenant was given to fall in the same line that Abraham had to follow. Does that make sense? So if Jesus was a Jewish rabbi living under the law of Moses and the law is not fulfilled yet, then it would make sense that Jesus would still follow the law of Moses, because at the time he is a Jewish rabbi living as an Israelite in Jerusalem. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't think Moses was a Jew? You don't think he was circumcised? You don't think he made the first covenant with the Lord as per the requirements of his faith?
Well, Moses wouldn't be the first covenant with the Lord.
No, he wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. He's following the covenant of Abraham. Go ahead, Ryan. Ryan knows more about this than I do. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my point now, I think. But with that argument, what was your argument again?
So my argument would be that when Paul is teaching in the New Testament, like, for example, my favorite two books when it has to deal with the law would be Ephesians and Romans. So in Paul's letters there, he kind of discusses in depth.
Oh no! Oh, okay, I remember my point.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I'm so sorry. I remember my point. Guys, my brain is like that. And just like that, sometimes the things I think can just like go in and out. But basically, okay, so in admitting that though, you're basically saying that now your worship, your point of worship is basically dependent on Jesus. It's directed and focused towards Jesus. And that to me is antithetical to who Yahweh is. It's pretty much clear. I mean, he was wiping people out in Canaan because they were bringing other gods in, allegedly. And I have arguments against that as well. But allegedly, according to doctrine, let's just say. So now comes Jesus, and now suddenly you believe it's okay to now direct your attention to what could be perceived by Yahweh as an idol. Like, what would be the difference if Jesus was put back, let's just say 1,000 years when Asherah was being worshipped? What would be the difference between Jesus and Asherah? Like, if Asherah is being destroyed because she's an idol, what would be said about Jesus? Could you say the same thing? I'm just saying, how do you now say that this is not a different God that you are worshiping?
Okay, so I would.
The Sabbath has changed now. Like everything has changed.
Well, I would agree that if you're looking at it from your perspective, and I'm not even saying that your perspective is wrong here. I think that there's like a little bit of faith that is required. Like, for example, for my belief, I think that Christ is prophesied in Isaiah as Emmanuel, and then he is also deemed in Isaiah to be the Almighty God. You know, the text actually calls him Mighty God. Now, you could go through and say, "Oh, he's talking about Israel." There's a lot of Jesus that goes into it, but at the end of the day, Christian, I believe and I follow the text, so I'm bought in. So, from my perspective, Christ is identified in Isaiah as God, and he is also identified as the Messiah. So when they're worshiping Asher in the Old Testament, they're wrong. They are committing idolatry. When it's Christ, I'm looking at Christ as mighty God himself.
This is fantastic.
What I could see from your perspective, you would deem in your perspective that, you know, Christ could be separate from Yahweh. In my perspective, Christ and Yahweh are one. So it's not idolatry.
And you're saying by faith, and I you know, I can't like I'm not going to try to punch through your faith. I'm just saying that sometimes I don't understand how easy it is for Christians to make ways and concessions when it comes to their religion, or for the people who were slaughtered, you know, when it came to Asherah worship or other gods or what have you. There was none. None could be had. It was this way. It was very orthodox. But now we can make concessions because we say so. That's how it feels to me. And again, I'm not going to punch down on your faith. You know, I get you have to do that, but it just feels like that to me.
Well, I think a good example of this, again, going back to Ephesians and Romans, where Paul talks about the law explicitly, like what the purpose of the law was. So by following the law, especially the law of Moses, by following the law to the letter, he kind of explains that we are dead to the law because it's actually impossible for anyone to fulfill the law perfectly. So the purpose of the law was to identify our sin. Paul actually explicitly states that the law is not sinful, but the law brings forth sin based on our actions. I don't think that there's a disconnect when it talks about Christ fulfilling the law, because that would actually explain Christ's purpose even more, in my perspective. If you go to the book of, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just need a moment, man. There's so much you got going on here. First, you said Moses and Abraham didn't have the same covenant with God. I disagree. They did. And then Paul never met Jesus. Everything Paul said is made up. Everything. He never met Jesus. Never met Jesus. His own account says Jesus came to him a vision on the road to Damascus. You know that story. Why didn't they go, glory, glory be to Yeshua? Or why isn't Jesus' name Emmanuel, Christ? They jammed that Jesus back in there, but the name doesn't match. It never matched. The Emmanuel being Jesus Christ. That's just absolutely forcing things to be that are not there. Also, you like using the Old Testament to prove that Jesus Christ is Jesus Christ, and because he's the Christ, because the Old Testament says here that this is going to happen. So you like the Old Testament, but how do you feel about all the things God did in the Old Testament? And then, of course, you're trying to conflate Jesus with God. So if Jesus and God are the same creature, therefore you're not committing adultery, then Jesus is the one who drowned babies. Drowned? That's not a good word. Jesus is the one who drowned babies. Jesus is the one who commanded these people to go kill everybody in this land, man, woman, and child. Don't even take the kids for. Jesus is the one who commanded them to kill all the Amalekites and take the women, the children for your. Was it the Amalekites they kept for their sex slaves? Keep the females for your sex slaves. Jesus is the one that did all the horrific things in the Bible. And you might hate the devil, but go read Job. The devil didn't kill the people in Job. The devil came and said, hey, Job, is this? God says, no, is this? Go read the next chapter where God says, though you moved me, you, Satan, moved me, God, to destroy them. So Satan didn't even kill those 10 people. God did. Jesus did. The Onan pulled out of his sister because he didn't feel like having children with his dead brother's wife was appropriate. So he pulled out, and God killed him on the spot. Jesus killed him on the spot.
Jesus co-signs it all.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With the discussion on the topic, I could talk about the Old Testament thoroughly as well.
You brought it in. No, you brought it in. You brought the Old Testament in as part of your argument with Emmanuel.
Right. Well, in order to talk about covenant, you have to talk about the Old Testament, right? I wasn't doing it.
I agree.
This wasn't like a prove Jesus is God.
Right. But now you're backing away from the Old Testament.
No, I'm not. I'm actually going to go back to the Old Testament.
Okay.
But
and pick and choose the part you like.
The Old Testament.
Go ahead.
Brother, I'm not picking and choosing. I'm just trying to.
You know what?
I was actually responding to something she said.
You're right, and I'm being a jerk. I need to cool my heels. You go ahead, brother. You go ahead and talk. I'll shut up for a minute.
I promise I'm not like a crazy whack job or anything like that. I'm going to the covenant because I want to give an example of the difference between in the law itself, sins that cause death and sins that are ordinances. So if you go to the book of Hosea, it's actually in the first 2 chapters. So like I said, I don't have my Bible, but I believe it's Hosea chapter 1 or 2, where God indicts Israel through Hosea, and he talks about the sins that.
Is this where he talks about how Israel is a whore who likes the emissions of a donkey and semen of a, or the penis? Is that the same one?
I hope. Just kidding.
Is that the same one?
Well, I mean, I couldn't.
Probably.
It sounded like you said penises. But
Well, where God is mad at Israel, the people of Israel, so he calls them a whore, and how they like the penises of horses and the emissions of donkeys.
Well, yeah. So you have the example of the 3 children. So pitiless would be the people of Israel. But in the indictment, God actually lays out the sins of the law that the Israelites have broken. And none of the sins that are laid out are like you ate pork or you ate a goat that was boiled in its mother's milk. The letter of the law that Israel is being indicted for would be the 10 Commandments. You should have no other gods before me, no idolatry, no adultery. So all of the sins that are laid out against Israel by God himself are in the 10 Commandments. So my counter argument for your argument against what Paul does in the New Testament, where he kind of abrogates some of the ceremonial laws, is that even when
who was Paul?
Says, no letter of the law should be the letter of law stands until everything is fulfilled. He's talking about the laws that are given to every prophet. There's no other gods before me. Love your neighbor. Don't commit adultery. None of those laws have changed because those laws are given even unto Adam. So that part of the covenant never changes. But the ceremonial laws for the priests,
right,
those have been abrogated by Christ.
Excellent. But again, no, I disagree with you. Jesus Christ taught an entirely different message from Paul. You just actually literally said the whole thing. Jesus was actually for the law. Jesus was circumcised. Jesus did Passover. Jesus did the things. Paul says you don't have to do those things anymore. Paul never met Jesus. This is like saying that you trust the word of Joel Osteen because he somehow saw Joseph Smith on the side of the road and claimed now to speak for Joseph Smith. And now this guy who never met Joseph Smith may have maybe met somebody who met Joseph Smith, maybe, but now you're going to take all of his words for it. And his word is entirely different from the actions of the person that he was talking about. You don't see that at all?
I definitely see it from your perspective. Like from my perspective, what happened to Paul on the side of the road is definitely him meeting Christ. And then, honestly, I would have to, as a Christian, I believe that the Holy Spirit is guiding Paul. So again, the triunity of God.
Then how can you reconcile the teachings of Paul and the actions of Jesus?
Well, Jesus was
he was a Hebrew, he was
under the law
a Jewish priest. He was a Jewish rabbi.
Yeah, so he
wasn't a Jew living under the law of Moses. He was somebody out teaching the law of Moses.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's why Christ has to.
Do you think he'd be very happy that after he died, somebody kept? Do you think he'd be very happy that after he died, somebody else came along and said, "Oh, don't do those things that Jesus said to do. Don't do those things that Jesus did as part of his covenant with the Lord. Do what I say." I never met Jesus, but do what I say, because I tell you that I had a vision of Jesus.
Well, the point of Christ is not. We're not called to follow Christ as like follow Christ what he did if you're not a Jew. Like circumcision was a sign of the covenant under Abraham for the Israelites. So as a non-Israelite, let's say to the Greek audience that Paul is talking to, the uncircumcised would have been outside of that covenant. Like they could not be saved through the law because they were not Israelites. Now, post Christ, after his fulfillment of the law, they are grafted into the church through Christ, but they are not bound by the Mosaic law because they are not Israelites.
Right. So you're a Paulinian.
It would be a requirement.
So you're a Paulinian.
You would be. I mean, I'm a Christian.
No, that's what this whole conversation is about. You don't do the things that Christ did or taught. You do the things that Paul said.
You do that.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do.
This is actually like a weird. This is a weird spot for me. I'm a believer that the law should be kept, but not as a requirement. It should be kept to bring you closer to God. So I do. Now I'm not perfect, but I do make a concerted effort to follow the law myself. I don't think that Paul is dismissing all of the law. I think that Paul is saying that it is not a requirement for salvation as it was in the Old Testament.
I understand that. And you know why? Because people didn't want to do it. They weren't getting the flock they wanted because people didn't want to cut off their end of the dick to follow them. They didn't want to, so they stopped sacrificing animals, no more sacrificing animals, and no more circumcision. That sounds so much more rewarding and refreshing, doesn't it? Oh yeah, sure, I'll sign up. Where do I sign up? Those are the differences.
Well, in the book of Hebrews, in the book of Hebrews, it actually outlines that the sacrifices, the animal sacrifices, were never enough to atone for sins.
So you're for child sacrifice.
Make those same sacrifices.
So you're pro child sacrifice.
I mean, I know.
Damn it!
Can you show?
We lost him. Hold on. If you can hear us, you're roboting on the phone. Are you there still? Damn it.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I live out in the middle of like nowhere, Alabama.
Got you.
My signal might be dropping out.
What were you saying?
Can you show me in the law, whether it be the covenant under Moses, covenant under Abraham, where child sacrifice is commanded?
No, I was asking you. Yeah, I was asking you if you support child sacrifice.
Absolutely not.
No, but you're a Christian. Jesus was God's child who he sacrificed. Jesus was a sacrifice for your sins, and he's the Son of God. God sacrificed his own son. Child sacrifice was committed by your God in order to save your soul. And that's all the time we have for you today, sir, because I got to take a commercial. We got to take a break. I don't mean to be rude. Call us tomorrow. We'll talk to you again. And we'll give Dairy Fiend just a minute whenever we get back. So, Ghost Rider, I don't mean to run you off, but we're already 7 minutes behind our break. So, but feel free to come back.
Absolutely. Y'all have a fantastic day.
And stay safe out
Thank
there.
you for
Cool
calling.
accent. Yeah, cool accent. I dig your accent. That's good shit. The ladies must love it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Hopefully my wife still does,
Well, maybe that's what sold her on you. Who knows?
Y'all stay safe, okay?
You too. Take care.
Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye.
Let's take a quick break, guys. And whenever we get back, we'll give Dairy Fiend a moment. Let's do. I don't want to do the Pharaoh's Curse because it always does my thing. Let's go. We did Conspira win. Let's do this one here in honor of our president.
Today's world is confusing, and there's too much information for one person to make sense of it all. Which credit card should I pay off first? Is non-fat milk good for me? Who should I vote for? Let's face it, if you can't figure out high-interest milk, then how can you be expected to make political decisions that influence a country of over 325 million people? Well, that's why there's fascism. Fascism is the political, social, and economic system for today's world. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines fascism as a political philosophy, movement, or regime that exalts a nation, and often race, above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of the opposition. Choose this ideology and life will be easy. Did you ever look at someone who uses really big words and think, I wish those libs would just disappear? Well, under fascism, your dreams can come true. Under fascism, you won't have to worry about the pesky little things like brown people or atheists, or who in your country is entitled to basic human rights and who is not.
Hint, hint, the answer is nobody. Yes, friends, this truly is the final solution you've been looking for. And if you're concerned if this form of authoritarianism will be up to your high standards, don't worry. American fascism will be the best fascism in the world because it's been endorsed by Jesus. So go out and destroy freedom and democracy by getting fascism today. Paid for by the Fascio-Conservative Party, formerly known as the GOP. Here we go. Here's one of my favorites. Oh, this is one of my favorites. It's Ezekiel 23:20. The Lord is angry with Israel. There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emissions were like that of horses. This is God talking about Israel because Israel is doing something he doesn't want. He's done something they don't like. He's pissed off at Israel. This is the God of the Bible. This is Jesus. These are the words of Jesus. If you believe Jesus and God. And see, we talked about that. Like, oh, no, not a lot of Christians actually believe they are the same. But wow, they really do. And I just don't know how they square that whole thing of Jesus being this loving, merciful, so gentle and kind, meek and mild, and how they square that with the creature of the Old Testament.
Don't know. So
Go ahead.
just real quick, remember when I told you there's one part in Exodus where you give over your son and there's no way out. Like it's just you give them, and then there's another one where it is. Well, it's Exodus 22 where it says, and it's verse, here we go. It says 29 through 31. It says, you shall not delay to make offerings from the fullness of your harvest and from the outflow of your press. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall remain with its mother. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. You shall be consecrated to me. You shall not eat any meat that is mangled by beasts in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs. So there's no but then you can do this and then it's all good. Now that does come, like I said, it's in earlier in a different verse, but again, this shows a portion of their history where it was just, you did it. I mean, it, maybe not all the time, but it was done.
And it was expected by the Lord.
It was, it says it right there.
And that may be why it didn't seem so out of place for Abraham. It may not have seemed so out of place for him to do what? Sacrifice his what? Firstborn son. No wonder why he was didn't seem like abnormal to him. Anyway, let's only at the time. Yeah. What do you got going on today, Dairy Fiend? How are you doing today? Hello, you're muted.
Oh,
looks like you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted. Never mind. Good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
I was talking and wondering why you couldn't hear me. I'm sad I missed the Pharaoh's Curse. That's honestly my favorite one. But the fascism commercial was funny.
I haven't played the Pharaoh's Curse yet.
Yeah, I know you said you weren't going to.
Oh yeah, carry on.
So I missed it. Yeah, Ryan, Chris, it's good to see you all again.
Good to see you.
Thanks for the show as always. And I have a lot of thoughts on this subject. I don't know how long we have to get into
just a couple of minutes, man. We're running out of time fast, super fast.
Yeah, I got you. I can't agree with you more about the fact that it's really more Pollyanity than Christianity, isn't it? But I think I have a completely different theory than you as to the nature of Jesus Christ. Because whereas you read him as a very big law person, an authority person, I just don't see that at all.
Oh, well, I really didn't see him as a big law person. I mean, not a big law person, but there's a difference between not being not a big law person and completely flaunting everything the law says. Those are different things. You can be not a law person and still go, what the fuck, man? That ain't right.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay, he literally goes around and subverts and challenges every single kind of authority in the gospel story. And the original gospel, or the oldest gospel that we have, is probably Mark. It's the shortest one. And if you compare the writings of Mark to Paul's writings, they are drastically different. And one thing that I want to point out that most people don't consider, or that I haven't seen brought up very much, is that if you look at the theme of the Bible, like the overarching thing, it's all storytelling. It's all myths about something.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's all a narrative, but Paul is not doing that. Paul is not writing a narrative. He is doing rhetoric. He is doing argumentation. Right.
He's selling something.
And so he's trying to sell something. And I watched this great video by Apologia. He has this
I like him.
Academic on like a doctorate or a PhD on talking about Paul was a Judaizer, that he never converted to Christianity, which makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
Yeah.
That, you know, he's kind of bragging almost to them about how bad he persecuted them. He says, I violently attacked the Church of God.
Yeah.
I sought to destroy it. He says, he also says some like kind of double entendre stuff, like, I resolve to know nothing among you except Christ and him crucified. You could read that as him like saying, I want to know everything there is to know about Jesus. But if he's claiming to meet them, why would he say that? I resolve to know nothing among you except Christ crucified. Almost like he wanted to see Christ crucified. Yeah. Like he wanted to know that was the only thing left, that Christ was dead on the cross. And so that's very suspicious to me.
That's dark.
And like Paul also talks about like, you know, slaves obey your masters, wives obey your husbands, children obey your parents. All authority on earth comes from God.
Exactly.
Obey the earthly authorities. And who is Paul really when you get back down to it? He was a Roman citizen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He had Roman citizenship, which meant he had privileges that all the Jews did not have, or a lot of the Jews did not have.
Exactly.
And he was also a Jewish authority. He was a Pharisee type. So he probably had reason to want to take down Christianity. And what I think happened was he did persecute them, and he did attack them and try to kill them. And then he realized that wasn't working, that it was making their movement stronger. Because remember, Christianity is very subversive to like the Roman view, the imperial cult, right? Even the term son of God, that's a title of the emperor. So when Christ is being called the son of God, that's blasphemous. That is heresy, right? It's literally, you know, a crime. Yeah. Anyway, I think Paul had a change of tactics. Anyway, you know what? I'm actually going to go in there and I'm going to talk to these people, and I'm going to rewrite the narrative. I'm going to change every detail of the story so that their interpretation isn't what the story is saying. It wraps back around to doing what I want them to do. And maybe he saw some opportunities to, like, you know, for personal gain too. There's no evidence of that. And that
no doubt, but
at the very least, he makes the same exact move that Constantine later makes, right? Constantine sees Christianity as like the rising tide. And he's like, okay, this is the way that the Roman Empire will metamorphosize. You know, maybe it'll break down. Maybe it's a sinking ship, and you know things will get too hard to maintain. But we can still maintain power and control through a church.
So Sir Equinox stole this from me. He stole it right out of my brain. Maybe Paul saw that he could just hijack the cult. I think Paul probably hijacked the religion. He saw it,
I think so,
and turned it to what he wanted and twisted it.
Yeah. He had to have, to some degree. I mean, to what degree we don't necessarily know, but he absolutely did.
Yeah.
No denying that.
True.
The one thing I would encourage you to do is this is something that's like really fascinated me and become kind of an obsession for me recently, is the Gospel of Mark itself. Like it's when you look revisiting it as a you know, now that I'm much older and I've already gone through my deconstruction and I'm not concerning myself with like metaphysical questions of like heaven and hell and like my salvation and the fate of my soul and God's will for me and that kind of thing. You know, it is one of the greatest stories ever told. There's no doubt about it. It's one of the most genius works of literature that I've ever read. And it's inspired me to start learning Greek, the Koine Greek that it was written in originally, so that I can understand it on a deeper level.
I wish I could.
But like Paul's prose is so much more polished and refined. I like the idea even of like him having like a delusional breakdown, right? And like feeling guilty about killing the Christians. I even find that unlikely. Like I think the whole Road to Damascus story, he doesn't even mention that himself. That's like isn't that an Acts or something? So that's not even necessarily confirmed.
Oh, is it Max?
But yeah, it's not part of his story. But yeah, it makes way more sense to me that he has an angle. He has a play at how he thinks Christianity ought to be. And probably he doesn't like the way that Christians are subverting the law. And might I remind you that in the first century, there was literally a Jewish tax revolt against the Roman Empire led by a guy named Judas. That really happened. That's historical fact. And Mark concerns itself a lot with money and the state. And is it lawful to pay taxes? And Christ's answers are very enigmatic about this. But he's repeatedly shown to subvert the authority, to negate the law. He accuses them, the religious authorities, of clinging to the commandments of men. He says no sign will be given. So this is very I don't know. It seems like anathema to what I imagine the Christian view actually is when I hear Jesus talking and seeing what he's doing. It's like, this is very rebellious. This is not at all what the Christianity I was taught, and this is not at all what Paul is talking about.
Yeah, there's another story in there where Jesus went after the Pharisees, right? He was angry with them for not following the law.
Yeah.
For being what is it? Hypocritical.
They followed the law too strict. Yeah, they were far too strict.
He tells them, you preach the law of Moses, that anyone who disrespects his father and mother should be stoned to death. You shouldn't disrespect your father and mother. But then you say everything you do is a gift for God. I forget the korban is I think the word.
Yeah.
And so he says, you hypocrite, you skillfully avoid the law. By making everything you do a gift for God, you leave nothing to be done for your mother and father.
Yeah.
And you do many things like this.
Yep. And if you're going to follow that rule, why don't you follow this other rule? Why aren't you stoning your kids to death? That was part of Moses' law. But you're going to circumvent the law so you can do this thing and this thing. But anyway, because that's there.
Well, Jesus' point is that the law is to serve us. So the Sabbath was made for man, or actually in some translations, you could read it as it's made by man, not man for the Sabbath.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wonder.
Yeah, he said the law. He said that the law was made for. I think he said the law was made for man, but not in the sense that it was made that we had to strictly adhere by it. Well, and that's why he was okay with breaking at times if necessary. Like he was okay with, I think it was apostles or disciples that were picking wheat on a
they were picking wheat on Sabbath and they were being accused. And then he says, haven't you read? Don't you remember when David was hungry with his friends?
Right.
And they went into the temple and they ate the sacrificial food that is not allowed to be eaten. And
you were hungry.
Thing that comes up over and over and over again. Jesus, everyone, don't you understand? Haven't you read? Don't you know? He's very angry with you.
He's classy.
I hate to rush, but we got to go.
Sassy.
He's pretty sassy. We got to go. I want to mention Beowulf in the chat.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Beowulf.
I'm talking about Mark forever. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Beowulf says, I think Paul was Christianity's Joseph Smith. Well said. And to you, Dairy Fiend, I put a link to the Pharaoh's Curse so you can watch it anytime you want to. It's in the Discord. A link in the Discord. All right, my friends, we're going to... Oh, let me read our super chats real quick. Henrim said, keep pounding. And then Beard of Empathy said, free tip from a therapist. Physical health is linked to mental health. #truth. Find some time to move your body today in whatever way feels right for you. I'm going to move part of my body. And it'll feel right to me. All right, you guys. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Sin safely, my friends. Take care. You guys are fantastic.
Got a house that smells like old cheese and shame. Father Flanagan's flesh candles change the game. Goat-scented thrills for your soul's delight. Light it up, baby, make your room right. When you you've sinned and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. Smell the goat in a holy zone. Father Flanagan, here to set the tone. Confession booth, busy, no need to stress. Light a candle and forget your mess. Gross odors vanish like sins in the wind. With each wick, guess who's your new best friend? When you've sinned and need to atone, light a candle and avoid the stone. Smell the goat in a holy zone. Father Flanagan, here to set the tone. Lambs and calves may have their day, but goat's the scent that leads the way. Clean your slate with a sniff so pure. Father Flanagan's got the cure. Turn your home into a saintly space. With every whiff, find redeeming grace. From your living room to the kitchen sink, light the gold candle